Hey everybody, Dark Skeleton here, and today I'd like to demo for you guys the JavaScript Dungeons & Dragons Next character generator created by Friedlander. And this guy, he's been creating these different generators for other games like Pathfinder as well for a long time, and they're actually really good as far as web-based character generators go. So, if you don't know already, and you probably do if you're watching this video, but Dungeons & Dragons Next is the latest edition of D&D. Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition would be the other way to call it. I don't know if they're actually still using D&D Next for it, like as an extra title, another way to call it. But anyway, if you go to pathguy.com/ddnext.htm, you can check out this character generator. Now, the guy, Friedlander, who went ahead and made this program, what he actually did have to do was limit what this generator can do to basically the stuff that's available out of the basic rule set that you can actually download for free. Wizards didn't want him to go ahead and include all the other stuff, so he went ahead and complied with that. Now, with this generator, it's pretty nice because every time you go to a next step, it's always going to point to what you need to do next. And you just scroll down as you continue and get to the bottom. And then at the end, you'll have a pretty well put together character to just go ahead and print out. So in Dungeons & Dragons, you generally roll for stats. There's also other options like point by array and standard array, which is where you just spend point by is where you spend points and come up with stats on your own. A standard array is a set of default stats, and then you just assign which stat goes into which spot. And then 46 best of 3 is the standard rolling method. There's also other methods like only using 3d6 if you want underpowered characters. But anyway, if you have 46 and that's what your Dungeon Master says to use, go ahead and hit roll dice. We'll get some stats here. Now, Honor and Sanity is actually something I haven't checked out specifically for D&D Next, but it does appear to be a option that you can actually use as a character statistic. In like Call of Cthulhu, sanity is going to be like how well can your character keep their composure together, and honor is pretty much self-explanatory. Is this a scoundrel or is this someone who actually keeps their word? Okay, so we have the stats 14, 15, 9, 15, 11, and 11, and these are assigned to strength, dexterity, constitution, intelligence, wisdom, and charisma. Most of these are pretty self-explanatory in what they mean. Strength, physical strength, dexterity, agility, how graceful you are, constitution, HP, how resilient you are to poison and disease, and how long you can hold your breath, that kind of thing. Intelligence, is your character smart and capable with arcane spells in the case of being a wizard, or is he pretty much a dunce? Wisdom, is your character observant, perceptive, wise? Does your character have a strong mind that is resilient to kind of the influence of other people, or in some cases, in magic, mind-affecting abilities? And then charisma, is he charming? And this is more the personality side rather than physical. Is it someone who has a commanding personality? Is he going to be a leader? Does his voice carry weight? Anyway, I won't detail like which stats are best for which class, but you can go ahead and assign these. So we'll just go ahead and choose some random stuff. So, okay, strength of 14, 15 for intelligence, 9 for dexterity. I don't really like especially graceful characters all that much. 15, how about wisdom? Yeah, sure, wisdom. And an 11 for charisma and an 11 for constitution. Once you've assigned them, you can go ahead and hit accept these scores. Cool. Next up, you got to choose a race. The 4 default races for 5th edition: human, dwarf, elf, and halfling. Pretty darn standard fantasy role-playing. Gnome and half-elf, not actually in the free downloadable basic rules, but you could get them out of the player's handbook. So in this case, we'll just go with a dwarf. Why not? Of course, you can also see tons of monstrous races that exist. But once again, grayed out, sadly. Maybe there'll be a day where he's given permission to actually enable them for this generator, because you can see that, the work's already been done and prepared for it. It's just not available. Okay, so male character. And one of the cool things about 5th edition was actually their addition of backgrounds as a game statistic. So when you choose one of these backgrounds, of which there are many, about 6 or 7, that you can actually choose from the basic rules, these backgrounds come with them specific changes to your character. Like one background might leave your character starting off richer, or might give you, more importantly, a specific skill that you get within the game. Like I believe if you were to choose Acolyte, I couldn't confirm this, but I would say there's a really good chance that's going to include Knowledge Religion or something of that nature, maybe heal checks or something. And this goes beyond your class. So you could be like a fighter that happens to be an Acolyte. It doesn't have to be a cleric Acolyte or anything like that. And it doesn't have to be a rogue who's a criminal. You know, you don't have to be that generic. But these backgrounds, they do kind of add a flair to your character. One of the great things about role-playing games is, of course, that you're basically allowed to create whatever you want and make something that's doesn't have to be totally unique, but make it your own. So like a criminal wizard. That's, I mean, it's been done, but maybe a little bit more interesting than a criminal rogue. So in this case, I guess, sure, let's make a wizard. So criminal, a lawful good criminal. Okay, that would be an interesting, okay, yeah, sure, we'll go with that. So it's someone who's completely repented from his criminal background, or it would probably be someone who committed crimes by accident, or had no other choice, knew it was the wrong thing to do, got caught, thrown in prison, etc. Level 1, we'll just stick with that. Accept it. And when you do accept all of this information down here, you can see, okay, the generator, it goes ahead and gives you some different information, like, okay, you're playing a dwarf criminal, dwarves get +2 constitution, and what to do next. Also recommending classes based off of your stats and some other information. So that's really good to know. Okay, in this case, we'll go ahead and choose Wizard. You can see basic rules, only Cleric, Fighter, Rogue, and Wizard are actually allowed. Those are the 4 most classic, most standard role-playing classes. And in fact, I think that was the 4 basically that were in 1st edition. Not that I ever played 1st edition. Except Wizards were called magic users, I think. But not that that's entirely relevant. So, accept classes. We're playing a 1st level Wizard. So now we actually skipped this part about high-level characters because I believe this only applies if you're like really high-level, or actually I'm not sure. But as you level up generally throughout D&D from like 3rd edition on, you hit a certain level and then you get the ability to buff character stats, but we're playing level 1 so we don't need to mess with that. Of course, if you have the rule set, go ahead and consult that. I believe right off the Wizards website you can actually get the basic rules, so you could actually see exactly what's going on in the background here. Not that you necessarily need it. Okay, so multiple types of dwarves, and this also applies to different races like this light halfling and stout halflings. Off the top of my head, I couldn't tell you exactly the differences between these 2 dwarves, but it does include, I think, a minor stat change. Like one is going to have higher wisdom and the other might have constitution. Is that how it works? Okay, we'll go with mountain dwarves. I don't think I've ever been as fond of hill dwarves. I think mountain dwarf is just a cooler concept personally. So dwarves apparently come with their own skills. So should this character be a smith, a mason, or a brewer? I'm kind of leaning the brewer, and that's yeah, maybe just kind of thinking World of Warcraft, Mists of Pandaria, which I barely played at all, but I do kind of like the Pandarans, so a brewer dwarf sounds kind of fun. And for the other races, you skip over that because, of course, you're not playing an elf, you're not playing a halfling, etc., so you don't need that junk. Class stuff, same thing. Just skip down here. Wizards, I believe... I'm actually not certain if choosing a wizard specialty is required. I think it is in 5th edition because they don't have drawbacks. This is just basically which spell school do you want extra benefits to go to. And in this case, evocation is the spells that blow things up. So you're talking fireballs, lightning bolts, etc. Other options grayed out here. But I think evocation's pretty much going to be the most popular anyway. Because when people think D&D wizards, not wizards in general, they usually go to, oh, this guy has really strong AoE effects. And although that makes me cringe in terms of, like, hey, wizards can do things other than blow stuff up. I mean, let's face it, it's pretty fun, it's pretty cool. Okay, so wizards, do you want a familiar? Most likely yes. And I probably should have checked the rule set just to skim through it again, but I think that there might be a benefit if you don't choose a familiar, so not having the familiar is actually a possible choice as well. But I couldn't confirm that. You'll have to check yourself. Let's go with an octopus. What the hell? Okay, this guy is becoming a little bit ridiculous, but I'm cool with that. So, octopus familiar. Yep. Okay, homebrew backgrounds. We'll skip over that. We're not doing homebrew stuff. Okay, anything that's basically grayed out, I think you can go ahead and... I may have actually... skipped over something. Yeah, just look for the red mark. Okay, yeah. Oh, yeah. Feats in 5th edition, if you don't already know, it's actually something you choose instead of getting the stat bonuses, I believe. So, up there where you would get extra stats for being higher levels, I think that's where you skip over it, and instead you get feats. But feats are grayed out because that's not in the basic guide. Feats are an alternative that are... specifically, I think, need to be allowed by your dungeon master. But anyway, let's move on. So we get all of this stuff. Mountain dwarves get +2 strength. This is a really strong wizard. That's I'm cool with that. I'm really cool with that. I think in 5th edition, actually, the attack bonuses difference, the difference in the attack bonus between different classes is actually not nearly as dramatic as it is in, like, 3rd edition. Because basically you get a proficiency bonus and maybe fighters get like an extra +1 or something like that. But I think, it could be wrong, but I think a wizard is still able to maybe hit something with his staff if he has to. So I'm cool with that. Okay, so we get 2 skill proficiencies from the background and 2 from being a wizard, which means we get to check 4 boxes, including those from our background. Now you can see here, because we chose the criminal background, that we already have stealth and deception. Those are chosen for us because we chose criminal background. And we get to choose 2 more, I believe that's how it works here. These should be from the recommended class skills. So, investigation, religion, nah. Medicine, okay. You'll notice that there's actually less skills in 5th edition. They've clumped them up a lot. Basically to make it a little bit less redundant, so it's not like you don't necessarily have to have move silently and hide in shadows, or just hide as 2 different skills. They've just been combined into stealth. History, it's pretty cool. I actually like history, so we'll go with history. Investigation, insight, okay. History and arcana. So we've chosen our 4 skills, 2 once again from the background, and we accept them. Okay, languages. In addition to common, your character knows 1 language. You are a native speaker of Dwarvish, obviously. So right, the generator, of course, figures this out for you, whether you get bonus languages or not. So we have common, we have Dwarvish, and now we need to choose 1 more from this list. A couple I don't really recognize, like Arakura? It must be some weird monster I haven't really ever played around with. Bullywugs? Been a while since I've seen that in a monster's manual. Elvish doesn't really make that much sense for a dwarf to pursue. I mean, kind of polar opposites there. Ignan. I believe Ignan is fire creatures, fire elementals, that kind of thing. And then Terran is earth. Slod, primordial. A lot of these languages really kind of out there. Undercommon might be cool. Undercommon would make sense for a mountain dwarf, I think. If you're kind of, halfway between that just regular mountain dwarf and, how do you say it? Dwagar, the dog dwarfs? Undercommon, sure. Oh, I guess it's not allowed, actually. Okay, why isn't it letting me check? Did I accidentally click on one? Oh, wait, no. My mistake. We don't get a bonus language. The bonus language is Dwarvish. Silly me. Okay. Now choose your equipment. This character is proficient with at least 1 games, and I think that's based on your background as well. Whether you get proficiency in a game. Think about bringing one along. This character is proficient with a forgery kit. Dwarves often bring blacksmith, masonry, or brewing tools. And yeah, with proficiency in brewing, then generate your character sheet. Okay. So, a game that we could bring along and be proficient with. Which combat equipment that you want to bring. And I guess it's not like basically subtracting the gold cost from what you have here, so you gotta kind of figure this out for yourself. Or, no. You know what? There's actually pages for this inside of the listing, because you get equipment based off your background and off of your class, so you choose between a few separate categories. Do we actually need to look this up? I think we might need to actually look this up. Prepackaged kits? Okay, we'll just skip over equipment, because that'll just take a while. But yeah, if you check the guides, you get some equipment based off of your background, and you get some based off of your class. Like, you have the option. Do you want to choose between, I think for wizards, they get like either a light crossbow with 20 bolts or a quarterstaff. So, and then you get to choose between a few separate categories. Okay, so skipping over equipment, I'm sure you can do that on your own. Skin color, eye color, hair color, and hair type. Give me a second, sneeze. Okay, skin color. Some interesting ones there. Silver skin. Reminds me of like Baldur's Gate, where you could just choose ridiculous colors like, I'm gonna have teal skin. How about tan? Why not? And eye color. I am kind of fond of green hair. Now, lore-wise, tan and green hair, green eyes and tan skin in the mountains might not make the most sense, but whatever, screw it. Black hair? Yeah, okay, black hair. The hair type. I like straight. Beardless? A beardless dwarf? Really? No. No thanks. Okay, choices made me to be modified to meet racial norms. I think this is roughly around dwarf height and weight. Okay, maybe 5'4" and 220 pounds? Sure. Give statistics as, yeah, you don't need to be a vampire, screw that stuff. And then you just need to set your character name, player name, personality traits, ideals, bonds, flaws, down here at the bottom. So, for instance, name, I don't have one really good in mind. How about Vesuvius? Vesuvius the Scrofulous. Okay, yeah. Yeah, you can choose titles. That's actually pretty cool. Player name. Alright, well, dark skeleton, obviously. Personality traits. We could say he's repentant, if I can spell it right. Devoted. What would be another way to say, like, studies really hard? Let's not be complicated. Studies really hard. Knowledge is power. That's a pretty generic thing for a wizard to say. Okay, so that ideals are like what your character looks up to, maybe actions or people. Minister. Okay, I'm gonna get killed for being generic. Okay. Anyway, bonds. Bonds would be like what kind of relationships has your character established. Not necessarily names. I mean, you can work with your DM to figure this out. So maybe he knows a lawyer. And maybe he also knows a cleric for religious purposes. slash redemption purposes. Okay, so let's go with the repentant thing. He was a criminal, but he's trying to redeem himself. And maybe he wasn't like evil before, but he just did something wrong. So flaws. Maybe it's hard for him to tell what's right and wrong. Hard to differentiate between right and wrong. That actually sounds like a fun flaw to play. Although, your party might not like it too much when you do something totally evil. Of course, there are limits to how far you're going to play that. It's not like going to be like, oh, I can't figure out that murdering the innocent is a bad action. I guess I'll just do it for fun. And then you like ruin the campaign. No, don't do that, please. Okay, that's good enough for now. Of course, you can put in more details, write notes down other places. If you want to like create a one-page background, you could even do that. We'll roll for hit points and generate the character sheet. And it's not like super fancy. This is basically how the Pathfinder ones looked too when you created it. But you got your character sheet here. Pre-calculates a lot of different things like your attack bonus. +5 for handheld. That's actually pretty good, to be honest, with that 16 strength. And yeah, if you chose weapons and armor, the statistics would apply here as well. We go down a bit here, and you still need to choose your wizard spells. So cantrips, I guess you would have to do it after you print it out, because you can actually click on the checkboxes here. But that should be relatively simple. And yeah, gotta pick a artisan tool sets, blah blah blah. Keep going down here. And you know, actually I think I probably passed over the wizard spells, to be honest. Let me see if I did. Maybe not. Maybe it is just on that character sheet. But yeah, there you go. While you can't use this for all types of characters you might want to create in D&D Next, this would be a good generator if you're just looking to get started. I've had some of my friends use this kind of generator. Basically, same thing created by Ed Friedlander when I was playing Pathfinder with them, and it worked out pretty well for them. So especially for people who don't want to spend like hours and hours, I think we did this in, looks like about 20 minutes, and that was with me talking. So that's actually pretty quick for creating a character in an RPG. So there you go. I hope you enjoyed taking a look at this with me. Once again, the website is pathguy.com/ddnext.htm. Of course, I'll put the link in the description. And I will check you guys out later. As in, I'll see you later. Not something creepy. Okay, later. Peace.